Hey everyone, welcome back to DC-Cember as we continue on the top 10 villains from Batman Beyond. As we start with our number 4, the Royal Flush Gang.
Plank rights and charge!
And we've been getting a lot of collective villains on this list.
Yeah, well, we decided long ago to count groups as one thing, I guess.
That's right.
And that's totally fine. Yeah.
Because we would just put 10 otherwise.
You can't have a 10 on the top 10 and the 4. It doesn't make any sense, Ted.
No, it doesn't.
Even though we're going with the Beyond Royal Flush Gang, they definitely had a bigger impact on the DCAU as a whole.
I always shipped Terry and Melanie Walker over Dana. That's
In
just
general,
me
yes. I don't like that
Mhm.
Terry basically cheated on Dana, and then just everything's fine by the end of the episode. And he just doesn't tell her about that, and then they get married later. And I wonder if they ever talked about that. But other than that, yeah, I think they're a little bit better as a Batman Catwoman style match.
Yeah.
Than just like Dana deserves better, right?
Yeah, it's just Melanie's more interesting of a character.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's basically Terry's Black Cat.
Yeah, I guess that's the better, since everything's Spider-Man in the show. Yet, whenever they first showed up, the Royal Flush Gang, I remember thinking as a kid, like, did I miss a Batman episode? I never saw the Batman episode where they're, because Bruce Wayne's like, oh, of course I know those guys. Playing cards, you say? Oh, crap, kind of. And we're like, when was this? And he knows everything about them and their lineage and history and all this stuff. But that never happened. Like, we never saw that. And so then, retroactively in Justice League, they're like, oh, we better do that at some point.
It's interesting how we have the classic comic book version of the Royal Flush Gang in the future, and yet for Justice League we get pretty much a Teen Titans Marvel mashup.
Yeah.
Teen Titans because it's their voice actors.
Yeah.
Right. It's a little more futuristic in the non-future is the irony. I definitely like their designs. Also, it's the most simplistic, basic shapes versions of the comic book looks of these characters. And even when they show up in Justice League Doom, they're very similar designs, but they're still a little more modern and stuff. And I love that in that they keep Ace as this big robot. This has become a thing now.
But yeah, what's interesting, I guess with the Walker family, it's Melanie is definitely, kind of a Catwoman aspect, but at least she's not stealing just because for the thrill of the hunt. It's just a family tradition, or just she only has to if there's no other choice. So it's technically she didn't fully lie to Terry, so they were all lied to in the end of that episode.
King is a really interesting character among them too. I really like how he's similar to what I mentioned about the Jokers, is he sees himself as this very powerful, very leaderly guy, and yet he's so small. He's in the shadow of the previous king, and he's getting the crap beat out of him and all this stuff. He's an intimidating dude, but he has nothing. He can't really walk the walk. So that's always interesting, especially in King's Ransom. We get a lot of follow-up on that, and everything's falling apart for him and the gang and everything. And I like that we got so many kind of an arc of the Royal Flush Gang, as opposed to some of the other villains that just get their 1 or 2 episodes and that's it. And these guys get a lot more of a beginning, middle, end kind of a deal.
Yeah. And again in the Once Burned episode too. I mean, they have at least 3 episodes.
Yeah, I liked how at the end of that, Melanie is able to bail out Jack and give him a job at the restaurant. So at least this showcase, at least for the 2 of them, they can still be an actual family.
And now this group is spades, and the one in Justice League were clubs, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we've done some Watchtower Database videos connecting all the groups we've seen, because then Ace has her own group in the epilogue flashback.
So that's why we're maybe one of them is the descendant or whatever. But
yeah, we were kind of thinking maybe one of the people in the epilogue episode
is a Walker.
Yeah, but who knows? It was conjecture.
Yeah, for the Justice League version of the Royal Flush Gang, that was pretty unique for how they went with how they all have a mixture of powers and such.
Superpowers, yeah.
It's just interesting with this matchup. We got Mr. Fantastic, Luke Cage. I would say Polaris. That's Queen, because
Magnet powers. Magneto.
Pyro from X-Men as well.
And Ace is Professor X because of telepathy.
Yeah, kinda.
Not Jean Grey. Professor X.
I don't know. I feel like because how she doesn't have much really grand control over powers.
We got to do a Ace Phoenix saga.
Ooh.
But I like how within Wild Cards, the Joker is the one that started the whole Royal Flush Gang
that's
thing.
clever. I definitely when that for episode first came out, I wasn't aware of characters like Amos Fortune or who created the Royal Flush Gang in the comics, or Roulette, who was worked with the Royal Flush Gang, and then of course they like Amos Fortune is in Wild Cards like as his name is there as one of the casinos as a reference. But
and he was one of the Justice League's original villains, like in the 1960s.
And so that like I never thought like, oh, this is dumb. Why don't they do it the way the comics did? Because I didn't know any different. And the Joker makes total sense, especially in the DCAU where he's so prominent. I mean, he's prominent in every DC continuity, but it's fun that they're like, oh, we're gonna finally show you how the Royal Flush Gang started. It was the playing card guy. What do you know?
And there was a episode of Super Friends also called Wild Cards that has the Joker and the Royal Flush Gang.
Yeah, so for Royal Flush Gang, it's great with this group of villains. We have an arc building up, or I guess in their case, building down as to now there's only like 2 of them just at least rehabilitated, and the rest are in jail and or just dismantled.
I'd say the reason they're this high on the list is mostly because of the connection to Terry with Ace.
Or 10.
That's what I meant, yes. Terry and the big robot, they had a real connection.
The next Iron Giant, everybody.
Yeah. Ace is standing there. I go, you stay.
Superman.
Yeah, the whole connection with Terry and 10 and through Justice League, the connection with Ace and Batman, even how Ace is the only person that truly terrified Joker.
He had to keep the headband on him.
That's why Bruce named his dog after her.
Makes you wonder if he really is insane. Like maybe that theory where he just pretends to be crazy might be true.
Just a souvenir, that's all.
Now for the next big group of villains. For number 3, Cobra.
G.I. Joe.
I've always liked the Cobra Gang, except I don't like that 2-part episode, The Curse of the Cobra. Not a fan of that one. I don't like going
space dinosaurs.
No, don't like going back to that one.
What? No. But we get a callback with Kari from BTAS, how she helps Terry with his martial arts training.
And that's cool. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I guess the Cobra Prince, whatever his name was.
Xander.
Yeah, I don't know. I never cared for that story. I always like the Soul the Dragon. That's the name of the movie, right? What am I thinking of?
Yeah.
The Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Soul the Dragon. That is like a much more like true take on Cobra as far as I'm concerned.
We saw like the normal present day cloaked Cobra in Justice League Adventures.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit weird continuity-wise with Batman Beyond, one of the handful of issues in that comic, but it's still a really cool, like, he seems more like a modern-day villain than what they did with him in Batman Beyond, or the group.
Yeah.
But I do still really like what they did, because I think it's kind of one of those, like, they had no idea they were going to get to do another present-day show, so why not go ahead and use one of the bigger DC villains that they hadn't used yet.
Yeah, it's a Jack Kirby villain.
Yeah, it's true, because I guess besides Xander, we never really got to see like who is like really in charge, or who who
except for the Static Shock episode.
Right, yeah.
Future Shock. There was another Cobra leader in that who got the prisoner exchange thing at the beginning of it.
Oh yeah, that's true, though they never really named him, right?
Nope, he was just called Cobra Leader.
When I first saw that, I kept thinking, is that Xander, but like he just like, I don't know, like was sort of returned or something, like just like messed up still in the head and stuff.
Xander turned into a dinosaur man.
He might have been cured if he survived.
Yeah, anything's possible. You didn't see the body, so you could do whatever. I do think Cobra are very cool. I think personally, I think I put them. Yeah, they're about halfway up my list, because I think I don't think of them as this like extremely threatening presence, even though they're supposed to come off as that. In Plague is probably the biggest like threat they've felt because they have like a world-ending plague, and they might distribute it everywhere instead of like most of the other ones. They're a little bit less broad of a plan, of an evil plan. It's more like, get that kid to tell us who Batman is, or we're gonna be dinosaur. Like the dinosaur ones is very world-reaching, but it's stopped immediately before anything can happen. So they've never felt like as big of a threat as I think they're supposed to. But I, again, just like the Royal Flush Gang or Shriek, I really like their very minimalist costume designs. That's one of the things I love about them, is just like they got kind of a snake-like helmet or like mask, and then the rest is just blank, like, you know, morph suit essentially.
They have a cool design for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like seeing a mixed combo of like when you see the League of Assassins or other cults that have been presented before, where how they look goofy. Their plans may not be the best as far as villain plans go in DCAU, but they're just like a very big, secretive, interconnected group that you can't just dismantle them that easily.
Yeah, you don't know where they are or who's in. Like, you don't know who's in charge. They never tell us. Yeah, so
they have multiple leaders. It seems like who all have a similar goatee.
Yeah. But I did kind of like Xander's character because I kind of think, given what we've seen through Epilogue, and Xander is kind of like, I guess, like a precursor idea to like what Amanda Waller was trying to do. Like Xander is basically like a genetically created Batman, where like, you know, he's created in a test tube, and from birth he's been subjected to how to better himself physically, mentally, all this stuff to be Cobra's perfect leader. Plus, it just shows how dangerous splicing can really be, because like because I felt like ever since the Splicer episode, they were hinting towards how dangerous that can be, and I would say this would be like the most extreme version with the alien dinosaurs.
Yeah, and well, you see Abel Cuvier from Splicers in the Xander like childhood flashbacks. Like he's part of the upbringing of that, and so it always makes me wonder like what other splicing type characters were sort of pseudo connected to Cobra, whether they realized it or not. Like Copperhead and things like that may have been kind of a early on, and now we're finding out that Cobra is around in the Batman the Animated Series kind of time. So it would be fun to see them I hope they actually dive into that at some point.
It'd
and
be
not
cool.
Just tell it. Yeah. That was the
It'd be
most
kinda
intriguing
cool.
sounding thing of like, oh, Firefly's burned to death and he's with Cobra, like, but we're never gonna show you that.
Don't tease us.
I know.
But that's what I liked about what you guys did with Legacies, where we got to see Blight's father, a younger Cuvier, and I think his name was Jason Burr. That's
Who is
Jeffrey
Cobra
Burr, yeah.
identity in the comics. This is true.
So yeah, the Cobra may have, unfortunately as far as for Bam Bian's last episode, may have been a very silly plot trying to get a kid to reveal Batman's secret identity, and all we get is a toy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun episode, but it's definitely not the finale you expect it to be. I'm pretty sure they've talked about, the crew has talked about, like, that was kind of their moment of realization of like, we never know when these shows are going to end, so we need to do like a big finale every season, because Unmasked is just the kind of like, and the show's over, the end.
Right.
It's not really like, it sounds like it's going to be this big huge Unmasked, oh no, not really, but
I've done well. I'll be remembered.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, as tomorrow we'll continue with our list for the week. Also, be on the lookout for the upcoming Multiverse fundraiser on January 20th to the 22nd of next year. And click on the link to check the newest series, Anonymous, at their website and see its first 2 episodes for free. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content, as more will come on DC-Cember.